the hanged man, but upright. God breathed life into Adam. Do you want to smoke DMT? And I was like, no! And then it was like, oh, yes. I started getting all these different downloads of these different types of frameworks that I still use.
You've actually been able to mold your life. You're the fulcrum of many different things.
That's a purpose project. So for that one, I say I have a 500-year game plan. I've been a sales coach for more than 11 years now. And so I've got sales teams in Asia, Africa, Europe, and North America. I can take the woo-woo out of spiritual practices, which is really great for a lot of men and a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot have to do with the breath.
Legit was like, is this legal?
You think you know yourself, but you've never been here. Yes.
I start off with the clapper.
Nice.
Matthew, Finland. Boom! How's it going, bro?
Yeah, dude, top notch. Like I said, best day ever every day.
Let's go. So you're out in Peru right now, hey?
I'm out in Peru. I'm in the Sacred Valley.
I'd be curious just to get your perspective on who you are and what you do.
I help coaches get to 12 to 25K a month using sales and systems. I'm an aspiring man of God, and I've had a real adventure. So I'm an adventurer. I'm a man,
I like that. I read that.
Man of God. I would say with humility that I'm a philosopher. I own a retreat center here in Peru. It's called Psychic Garden Center. It's epic. It's freaking epic. I looked over there because I can see it. Like fucking bro. Like this is hold on. This is
Wow.
This is where I live.
Just spawned this morning in the Peruvian mountains.
Yeah, and that's my retreat center right there.
Okay. Holy shiza.
It's bananas, dude. We host things here for the community. We host festivals, but the primary avenue is venue hire. So when you want to host a retreat here, I'm your guy for hosting your Peruvian retreat. We have a cold plunge and a super dope sauna, and that's not really super, you don't come across that in the Sacred Valley of Peru. Real Life Skills Academy. The intention is to educate on real life skills, the real life skills that we don't get taught in whatever they call that education system, which is a weird thing to call it anyways. What we're doing this year is we're going to do 2 group programs for parents to teach them the real life skills. I want to do a summer camp next year. Maybe you could help even. I want to do one for boys as like an initiatory process somewhere in the Kootenays. That's not a passion project. It's not a profit project. That's a purpose project. So for that one, I say I have a 500-year game plan. 500-year game plan.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I'm a Kangen water distributor. I've been in sales coach for more than 11 years now. And so I've got sales teams in Asia, Africa, Europe, and North America, and not South America yet. I should do that.
Yeah, come on, dude. You're slacking.
Yeah.
You've actually been able to mold your life into an entrepreneurial space where you've got lots of things going on and you're the fulcrum of many different things that you're passionate about, right? So like you just gave a little bit about where you're at now, but I'd love for you to share what your story has been.
I'm beaming right now thinking about you being from the same place as me, because people aren't like us from where we are. And it's just amazing, dude. Excellent job. I'm from a small town in the Kootenays. It's called Rossland. Parents did an amazing job. And I don't come from wealth. It wasn't like superstar Mr. Popular. It was actually kind of like outcast. I moved to Vancouver and I got an interview and the guy said, wear a suit. And literally, like, I'd wore a suit to grad. I don't think I'd wore a suit any other time. And then when I was 20, I learned about commissions.
That's the same for me, actually.
Bro, why am I learning this right now from my interviewer? I legit was like, is this legal?
That's so funny.
And that was their response. They said, you do ABC, someone's going to give you their credit card at the door. And I started crushing. One of the primary reasons I started crushing is because I work like a small town boy, not like a city boy. How'd you get 3 sales today, Matt? It's like I talked to 60 something people. They would smoke and take breaks and da-da-da. And I literally had a backpack and I would run through people's yards, to get sales. I did really good. I got promoted my first week. I was training people my second week. And then 3 months in, I got offered the opportunity to move to Ontario, where instead of getting commissions on just my sales, I would train sales teams and make overrides on the team that I hired, trained, and then they sold. And I've been doing that for 11 years. I pivoted out of door to door. One of the spectrums that I look at life through and with all my coaching is that there's a spectrum of neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, and spirituality. And if there's like a spiritual thing that I can't connect through that thread, I don't buy it. And if there's a neuroscience thing I can't connect through that thread, I don't buy it. I call it applicable spirituality. I can take the woo-woo out of spiritual practices, which is really great for a lot of men and a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot have to do with the breath, nervous system regulation, which therefore puts you in what's called an alpha brainwave state, which we could call spiritually flow state when you're in the pocket. So no one's ever heard of this. It's called, there's IQ, EQ, and AQ. We know IQ, we know EQ. Nobody knows about AQ. You tell someone, you'll be the first person to tell them. Adversity quotient, coined in 1997 as the science of resilience and a long-term predictor of success, happiness, ability to learn, and nobody knows about it. Practices that have been done by multiple lineages and multiple cultures for thousands of years that help you get into a flow state, an alpha brainwave state, a non-beta brainwave state. A high beta brainwave would be your amygdala, hijacking your executive functions, your ability to plan long-term and self-regulate. I like to think of it as like that's what allows you to be a god, and then your limbic system is what allows you to be an animal. And then you're kind of in between, like which one do you want to do? And most people are in a toxic body, terrified. So their God, their prefrontal cortex is literally turned offline.
I've never heard that explained in the way that you'd said that. Like it's one, God, and turning on your pineal gland or your foresight or your intuition or your understanding of how reality works and connection to that. And then the animal side of things and your general functions. That's super cool. I really am in that same space in regards to how do we actually take what reality is and look into that and not be scared of anything because we are afraid people are going to think of us in some particular way, and actually break that down through case studies, through trying it yourself, through actually trying to understand how reality works and how it can be applicable to people's self-development. And then how can we do, the business side as well too, do the logical, awesome stuff that can build us an awesome life as well. And I notice a lot of people in business are nervous to go into areas that they're passionate about and these spiritual type of things because they don't want to look silly, when really that's what is going to allow them to understand who they actually are inside and to be more at peace knowing what kind of reality they're actually existing within. Did you have a period of time where you went through a phase of understanding all of these types of things as well too prior to you getting in sales?
I had I would say 5 levels of spiritual conscious level up. And I just went through my last one and I'm in a different state now. It's excellent. My first one was I went to a Bible camp called Pines.
I've been there.
Excellent. For the games. I started praying. Half the time it was like genie in a lamp prayer. God, please give me this thing I want. But I developed a tether. Then, turned 19, turned 20, and started partying super, super hard, found door-to-door sales. Second level up, where I went from what do you mean commissions? That was cracked it open, to holy shit, I have to train people how to do this. I'm 20 hiring 20-year-olds. If I don't train them how to sell, they legit can't pay rent. And this is where I started studying neuroscience and psychology deeply. I was dating a girl that was she was a Christian neuroscientist. She brought this God lens creationism into the brain while I'm in the streets, literally testing these things out and starting to see this creation. And that really leveled me up. I just had so much awareness of not just my psychology and my neuroscience, but what actually going on with the person that I'm talking to right now. One time I had 3 offices in different cities and still partying and sinning and totally out of integrity. And God had something to say about it, right? I ended up losing all my offices and I ended up in debt. The third one, this would have been, I came back to BC and joined Kongan, went to Japan, and in between Japan and Hong Kong, I got this pull. I'm kind of tuning into God still, even though I was still, go to Rosslyn. And I was like, okay, I've followed this so far. I was thinking it was help out my parents on the yard and see family. And I went to my cousin's house and, or someone random's house. And he was like, do you want to smoke DMT? And I was like, no, I knew that the chemical looked like. I'd done my research. No. And then it was oh, yes. Smoked DMT 3 times that night. And there's some things that the third time is the blast off. And the third time was a big dose. And it's an auditory and visual hallucinogen. And so I was in a pitch black room with binaural beats playing. some excellent things happened. I had an experience like I've never heard anyone else had, and I'll just tell you about the beginning of it. You know, colors, and then I got like pulled by the scruff, like up and down into a portal, and then I landed. It was Matthew's meat suit standing on a deck somewhere. I began to research some of the buildings that I saw and some of the things that I found, and then it led me to the Hermetic principles, and then it started really like unraveling. I started getting all these different downloads of these different types of frameworks that I still use, and so now I'm like tapped in, but I didn't just unplug out of partying bullshit. I didn't just unplug. But the repercussions of listening to that voice were amplified. So like now it's like, go that way. Excellent. Go that way. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna go this way. Really unexcellent. So then I end up in Hong Kong, which is basically like Asia, Sin City. And I was in the washer of these amplified blessings and cursings. Cause I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I had this New Year's Eve party that could be described as a scene from Scarface. Went to the hospital. They're like, you're just hungover and have toxins in your body. Like, go home. You know, like, and then I saw my best friend exercising. He was on day like 62 of this challenge called 100 Sweaty Sweats. And I had what I call, which most people have when they go through mega level ups, a fuck it moment. And I was like, fuck this, like, fuck me, fuck that way of operating. I'm going to start exercising every single day. And then I did. And this was the next level up, the fourth level up. And I ended up exercising every single day for 1,000 days. Fully changed my life. And then my final level up had to do with huge surprise, women. And I loved this woman that didn't love me back. And then I ended up in a relationship that on paper was perfect, but outside of paper was terrible and traumatizing. Came out of it, and it was immediately like best day ever every day, like so much abundance and all these things. Now here I am.
It's awesome. There's a few different points that I'd be curious if you could expand upon in there. One of them, when you were talking about, I think it was like level 2, you're talking about how you were utilizing archetypes and psychology and seeing how different people operate as you were building your teams. And you said that you were applying it. What do you mean when you were saying you could see them and you were helping them utilizing that?
That's excellent. What most door-to-door sales managers do is they got 10 people, so they cut up 10 pieces of turf, and then they put 10 different reps by themselves in these different areas of turf. I partnered people together. When I hired someone, I would get them to do their Myers-Briggs. If this guy went to this turf and got 2, and this guy went to this turf and got 2, if they both went to one of the turfs, they'd get 5. That was the average of what ended up happening. And so I started just taking macro data on what happens if I put 2 ENTJs together. Do they go and crush, or do the commanders like bump with each other? And then I started like partnering, and it worked fucking excellently. Really, nobody knew that I was doing this. My best door-to-door sales guy at that time was a 6'3" Nigerian, probably 230-pound lad. Yeah. And we would knock from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. So the sun goes down at 7:30 p.m. He's not allowed to go door to door by himself. Okay. So I partnered him with the most pleasant, cute accent, 5-foot-tall Mexican girl. They would knock. She would say, "Hi, I'm there, and this is him." And then he would do the rest. All these different little like things like that. And then, and I still use this a lot in my coaching, there's the big 5 personality traits. It's openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And by learning what yours are, you can then learn what other people's are. And why this is so important in business and in sales, you can see how agreeable somebody is. When you're hiring teams and working with people, it's really, really important. But the big one is it's actually a tool to allow you to not be annoyed or upset or frustrated by people acting like idiots. They're actually just high in trait neuroticism, low in trait conscientiousness. And you can just see that instead of just like, why are they not operating with more integrity, or why? And so by teaching my reps that, it helped the team work really well together. The big 5 personality trait for the door-to-door sales people being able to recognize that Maria they just talked to after 4, 5, 6 minutes, high in openness. Good. Right? We like that. That's fun. So you can tailor the direction, maybe the tonality or the volume or the verbiage choice of the sales pathway that you're walking them through.
I love that type of stuff. The understanding of who you are and how can you refine your type of person and how you can show up in different ways in different environments to get a certain result. You have a base character. We're all one specific character. We don't get to change our physical bodies in and of itself. And then you have all of these options of how you want to customize, how you want to present, and what is the goal that you're trying to get out of that. Big black dude versus a small Mexican, very different types of people who can still win in the same field by utilizing different psychological inklings. I'm like tall, like kind of masculine vibe dude. And so my logo is pink, for instance, with my Geist Gunnard logo, because I like the contrast of me being more approachable because I incorporate that feminine, and it's like a cloudy font. So I love that.
Why do you think I wear this?
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about like softening the edges, right? So I actually have some feathers there, and I actually have like a secret owl.
Okay.
Yeah. So the feathers was to soften the edge, same thing.
You have a few tattoos there. What was your first tattoo?
My first tattoo was this eye.
The Eye of Horus.
That's right. After the DMT experience, I started having exceptional dreams. And one of them, this appeared on my hand and then saved my life.
Wow. Saved your life how?
I was being attacked by the townsfolk with like pitchfork and torches.
And you meant it saved your life in the dream?
In the dream. And I looked at my hand and it started glowing, and then it just started like blasting them like Dragon Ball Z, just boom, and I had no control over it. And then I woke up. It's a symbol of protection, used to protect pharaohs. There's a bunch of excellent math and fractions and potentially tools used for building some of the buildings in it. And so it's a reminder that God is watching and he will protect the pharaohs, but the integrity must exist. So it's kind of like that's what it is. It's a reminder that God's looking.
That's a super powerful, fundamental one. Be good for a first tattoo for sure. You have other tattoos as well too, which I know are sacred geometry and things that are fundamental to reality. And those types of symbols and tattoos can actually help you become a better person. And it's really cool to see somebody who like emphasizes that. You're like implanting something in your environment, and now your thought is going to continue using that as something that you go back to.
The rest of this is a combination of various types of people seeing it on me in psychedelics. Like some that like, let's say I like spiritually have respect for, and then others that were just like a buddy tripping on mushrooms. Like, oh my God. I was like, describe it to me. Was it like circles and like dots and they're like, yeah. And then one day I came out of a meditation, saw it. And then these bands here. So like this piece actually fits into this piece. Cool. And same that piece fitting into that piece. And so that's also the yin yang. This is my feminine side. This is my masculine side. And Egyptian gods have clasps on here. Some certain milestones were hit. The bands got strapped on, and then, the tattoo got filled out.
You have the Conscious Grounding podcast. What's your favorite topic to talk about?
Conscious Grounding is about non-bullshit spirituality. Well, I posted this thing, I don't know if you saw it in my story, but this is this Indian, maybe guru, maybe like sub-guru guy, but he was like, I was just talking to this guy. You guys call money moolah. Well, it's the Muladhara chakra. And so it's actually the money chakra. And I've been calling the root chakra the muscles and money chakra for a while. The people that are in the spiritual community are literally disintegrating into medicine and spirit. Their bank accounts are disintegrating. I'm really passionate about assisting the men that have money trauma. I get it. Money and power is why all the bad things happen. It is. But it's like, you can also be abundant and be awesome and be on team like light with these tools. And so right now that's what's like really, really, that's what's really alive for me right now. And this is actually the top one. So that was the second one. The top thing for me talking about right now is what I call Christian trauma. So it's like people like, what book should I read? The Bible, obviously. Obviously. You're going to find a better one? Like, good luck with that. And I was noticing the creationism within the neuroscience. I was noticing like the symbology of like inner masculine, feminine, Adam, Eve, coming forward and being like, I'm a follower of Jesus and the Bible is it, but I'm not a Christian. And I look at it and I look at this through a hermetic lens. I don't respect Christian. I respect the Bible and the teachings of Jesus.
Interesting.
I put those in different categories.
When I was like 17, I had an existential crisis, and I was like, okay, I need to understand what's going on and who I am and, what reality is and what all these religions are talking about. There is so many different philosophies that people follow, different religions people follow, where people can become really awesome humans. And there is the Bible and Christianity being the biggest religion. And there is so much wisdom in the Bible. Even if you're cross-referencing the spiritual side of things, there's like people who channel beings, for instance, who are like, yeah, the Bible's the shit. Like, there's lots of good shit in the Bible. Like, keep doing it. But there's also lots of interpretation. There's lots of analogies. There's lots of different ways of interpreting the data in there, and lots of different ways of integrating that into your life. And so using it as a book of wisdom and a thing that can help you bring more light to your life and to other people's lives is how I think it's best suited to be seen as, and how I love looking at it as something that if it actually is going to bring really great value to you and other people, then that's awesome, but kind of in a dynamic way as well too. Just like how there are lots of other religions that in different places in the world, they find a way to find out who they are and how they can best serve the environment around them as well too. How do you see it?
How do I see the Bible? I mean, I see it as being deeply misunderstood. People don't know how it even came together to become that. And it wasn't like nearly 300 years after Jesus was alive before that even happened. I see so much justifiable hate for the book that caused so much fucked up stuff to happen. And I normally don't like to drop F-bombs on podcasts because blah, 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 but wow. Like, you can pick things. Pick a culture, pick a country. Some fucked up shit happened there on behalf of Christianity. Wielded in the book. Well, it says here, hey, slaves need to be good to the masters. So slavery in the States for 400 years. Throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Have you heard of that before? I don't like that one. I wish there's a better way to say that one. But that's what's happened, right? So people have thrown Jesus and the Bible out with Christianity. And that's a big mistake. You can do a little bit of research and you can see like the number of cross references. Have you ever seen that picture where it shows all the different cross references of the Bible and how many times all the different books? It's not a book. It's a library. Every name chapter is not a chapter. It's a book. And people haven't read it. Christians haven't read it. They haven't. People haven't read it. And so they're hating something that they haven't read, and they refuse to read it with an unbiased lens, like it's just another self-help book, for example. Or maybe it's the best self-help book ever written, but they're not coming forward with that because this self-help book was justified by the evil man to do the evil things.
You're saying that people who don't have respect for it haven't read it and they don't see the good points in it, and people who adamantly defend it oftentimes aren't properly representing the actual useful parts in it.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And I want to add one more thing. When I was going door to door for 3.5 years, I saw very many different types of people. So I got macro data, and absolutely, positively, Christians were more pleasant. Absolutely, positively. Like if I went into a trailer park and one of them was a devout Christian, it's like that was my favorite interaction in that park.
If there was like a 35-year-old Christian who wanted to understand more about reality, you would point him to hermetics?
I would point him to breathwork.
Okay. I love breathwork. I do breathwork every day.
Every day. I would actually probably take him through a breathwork experience, which you should I'm doing some when I come back. Bro, it's excellent. Yeah, it's excellent. I'll take you for a ride. Then I would like bring out the that bit like where the guy's like, yeah, like look, the lines that connect. I would pull out this like, okay, look, yoga, it's not necessarily like a demon summoning thing. Maybe there's actually something to it.
I've never heard that before.
Oh, dude. The hardcore Christians are like you're inviting dark entities in, which there could be a reality too, but it's more about the antenna. In some of the first parts of the Bible, it says God breathed life into Adam. And then likely I would be talking to him about building his temple because Isaiah said it and Jesus said it. And it's like, this is the church.
Focusing on the real things that they wouldn't usually be doing with their body and with their breath and with their mind, and understanding how their potential can be elevated in addition to the philosophies and the principles that they follow with the Bible. If there happened to be one philosophy that the whole world agreed upon, what do you think would be the most constructive philosophy?
Gosh. Excellent question. Gosh, yeah. If I was speaking to a 17-year-old you right now, right, what path would I point the lad on? I would say the Hermetic principles and deeply, deeply trying to understand those. And then the Gospels. The four: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. If there was a 17-year-old that was diving into hermetics, the gospels, and knew about the 5 pillars of human potential and was focusing on their adversity quotient, that's nice.
That's awesome.
I have other things that I think would be more useful for people to live a more fulfilling life that don't have to do with either of those. But that would the starter booster pack. 5 pillars of human potential. 5 areas to build or destroy. Financial, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Your resources and ability to acquire them. Financial pillar, physical pillar, the temple. Emotional pillar, your relationship with others. Mental pillar, your relationship with yourself, your knowledge, your discipline. And then spiritual pillar, your relationship with God. And so within all 5 of these pillars, you're at one of 3 levels. And you're either healing, building, or optimizing. Healing, building, or optimizing. You think of like a grid. You got your 5 pillars. You got your, where are you at in there? Now, what do you mean spiritual pillar? What do you mean? What is the spiritual pillar? And I'll tell you the first primary thing about it: the ability to remain regulated, nervous system regulation. And this is not just remaining regulated when you're like in a fight, with like a verbal fight with someone. This is not just remaining regulated when your bank account balance hits 0. This is like legit if a tiger's coming to bite you in the face. You remain regulated. So what does that mean? It means the actual next step is adversity quotient. Things don't go according to plan and your nervous system gets hit. Like, how hard does it hit you? And then after that, how quickly do you efficiently adapt to what you're doing? Yeah, and it's kind of like almost inducing what I went through, which is, why haven't I been taught this?
There's people who go on Joe Rogan, like Terrence Howard, I think his name was, and he talks about all of this crazy stuff he learned in the Akashic Records, or like a field of consciousness that, you know, he got downloads from, right? What are people doing when they're in these states of awareness? Things like frequencies as well, too. Like I have a cymatics table over there.
Dope.
Which I think is cool. And I have that machine right beside it is a music of the plants machine. So it takes the electrical.
Why do you have a cymatics table? Just because?
Because I think it's dope. You know what?
Excellent.
You know what? I found out what cymatics were, and I was like, if this is real, this means that I've never been taught about frequency ever. And it proves that frequency creates geometry and it will affect the water molecules and physical things. And that means that this could be used for a lot of different stuff and is super significant. And so when I got it, and it makes geometry out of sand when you play solfeggio frequencies, and it costs like $1,000. Like,
yeah, that's excellent. That's epic. Can we play with it when I come home?
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Dude, that would be, I haven't got to do that. There's a really cool thing about frequency that, like, you know, but maybe haven't heard just worded like this. So everything's vibrating, right? Everything's a wave, everything's frequency. But like, what do you mean? So everything is on a band, right? It's all measured in frequency. And light is slowed down sound, and matter is slowed down light. So there isn't a difference between those things. They're just frequencies slowed down or sped up. So we are light beings, legit. We are like condensed light. The frequencies got tighter and tighter and tighter. And now it's matter. Looser and looser and looser, you get light. Looser and looser and looser, you get sound. Brainwaves have been my like gateway drug for so many people bound in science. Yeah, that's dope. That's excellent. Brainwaves have been my way to like use science that we've got to like kind of breach that, like, wait, that sounds like magical powers. And you're like, it is. Yeah. And we've got science for it. And if you go, it'll tune you up. It's just so easy to go from neuro wiring to neuro waves to alpha brainwave state to flow state to the present moment. Like,
ever since I started playing with solfeggio frequencies and brainwave beats, different apps on my phone, and then they describe on it what type of utility you could use it for. So there's ones like night meditation or pre-workout, things on this line. It's just different patterns of brainwaves. That's all it is. And then my utility with solfeggio frequencies personally is when I first found out there are these supposed frequencies that did that on the plate, right? They make harmonious geometry. They're supposedly connected to the chakras or energy centers, right? And I was like, okay, I don't know to what degree this is actually doing something with that, But I just played it on blast with my phone. And I remember my family being like, what are you doing? That sounds like static in a TV. And I was like, well, supposedly it helps me in some sort of bodily way. And I have no idea if it's true. And they're like, so you're just going to walk around with it blasting forever? Like, that's how people do it? And I was like, I have no idea, but I'm just going to give it the benefit of the doubt and experiment and just be objective about this. And then I started doing breath work, and I have the routine I do all the time now, which is I have one of those little hand gripper things. And I have a like breathwork thing on my Apple Watch, and I will use the solfeggio frequency, hold it in my hand, and I'll point it at like the bottom of my body and go up throughout the different sessions of breathwork. And I'll just hone my intention, kind of like doing a body scan on different parts of my body. And so I tried to just layer legitimacy into one activity. How can I objectively understand how the universe works and how I can become the best version of myself doing it? So I was like, okay, at least my grip strength in this time is getting stronger. I'm doing breath work. I've got this frequency, which supposedly is harmonious with my body. And I'm doing a brain to body, mind body connection right now, putting the energy into that part of my body with the intention of healing. What is your perspective on astrology?
Oh, excellent. Excellent question. My perspective on astrology is that there's planets and they have strong gravitational pulls. And when they're ripping around, they're tugging on each other and they're tugging on Earth and they're tugging on the water, and we're mostly water. And with spiritual concepts, right, I try to find as much science as I can, and I use my own subjective experience. So I try to find objectivity, very difficult to do most times, but then I take data. So when I first heard of astrology, I was like, that's bullshit. What are you talking about? This is like bullshit. Just like when I was told, if you say ABC, people are going to give you credit card at the door. I was like, that's bullshit. But I didn't just say that's bullshit and then walk in the other way. I said, I think that's bullshit, but I give it a look. And eventually it's like, really? Like you and you are Aries? You guys are pretty, like, you guys are like way different than those three people that are Cancer. Like way different. And after now, like thousands and thousands of people, I can tell you that whatever it says in the newspaper is bullshit. And, maybe some of these apps are and da. But I've collected enough personal data now to know that there's something there. And how and why, my objectiveness for that is not as concrete as, like, for example, my nervous system regulation being the alpha brainwave connecting piece to God. It's not as concrete, but I have so much data now, that I don't know, something there.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I find it super fascinating too, because I wanted to go into religion and things like astrology as objective as I could. And I was like, hey, what are the best things to help me in life? Like you talked about with Hermetic principles, right? Is astrology one of them? Let's give it an objective try. I had the birth charts of all of the people, which is basically like all the astrology data. And I broke that down for each of the people I already knew. And I gave some decent advice to some people. And I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. And then I had my own. This is actually a pendant of my supposed birth chart, which is like all of the archetypal energy that would represent who I am as a person, right? And how I function in different aspects of my psyche. And so in the same way, very similar way that you utilize the Myers-Briggs and those different formulas to understand people, I genuinely tried to understand the shit show complexity of astrology. There's so much to learn. Most people don't know anything beyond the sun sign, right? Which is like, oh, you're an Aries, or oh, you're a Cancer, right? But that's just the one component of someone's individuality. In that whole thing I just showed you, there's a whole zodiac wheel thing where it's all the other components. The system is putting itself on the line and saying, this is who you are in regards to where in a general sense your archetypal energy is. And it's up to the person to understand what the symbols mean. I started incorporating that into like my ChatGPT information, and I've noticed that it's helped me understand in a big way who I am as a person. I think it's bullshit in the way that it's presented, in the sense that there's lots of different ways people interpret astrology. It's kind of like religion, right? Like there's different styles, and people are like, this is the way. They're idiots. This is the way. This is the way. And it's like, maybe there's a fundamental truth to the data points of individuality, just like there's a fundamental truth to how mathematics work, or how geometry works, or how frequency works. And it's another component, but in the realm of individuality.
Have you gone down the human design rabbit hole yet?
You told me about that the first time that we had met.
It combines astrology, the Kabbalah, chakras, and a book called the I Ching, something in human design called gates. Okay? I don't know if you've seen your chart before, but if you can kind of picture a human design chart in your mind, there's all these like kind of like circles and lines going between them. And coming off of each chakra is a one gate. Gates are represented through the different planets and the house that they were in at that time. So if this gate says that, you know, we're both going to be exercise guys, and mine's in Mars and yours is in Neptune, it's like, okay, we're both exercise guys, but like, how does Neptune guy do that versus Aries? But in terms of a system and a structure that has been so like accurate, and I still kind of grapple with it, but it's the subjective experience has been so overwhelming that whatever like logical objective argument might come up is almost just thrown out. It's like because of the personal data that I have experienced. The application of taking advanced astrology and applying it to the human design is the best.
So why wouldn't you show somebody, when I asked what would be the first thing you show a 35-year-old Christian the human design system?
The 35-year-old Christian, because he's going to be just like, he needs to have a breathwork DNA. He needs to get blasted open first.
Or the 17-year-old just getting into things.
That's a good one. I like to think of it like we have like spiritual development, and then there's like a little circle inside of that that's personal development.
You like can understand the character you have, but you don't know what video game you're in and like what your objective is.
Yeah, exactly. There's things that you know, right? So you know that you know about astrology. And there's things that you know that you don't know. You know that you don't know how to do open heart surgery. And then there's this massive, infinite-sized piece of things that you don't know yet. And when you first get into hermetics, it kind of opens you up to that concept for real. And then human design kind of allows you to like put some more structure into the, whoa, this is an infinite game. Okay, but like I'm a finite thing. And excellent question. Yeah, good question.
Yeah, I think that was a perfect place to wrap things up in regards to talking about how you would suggest somebody go from your perspective, from more of a spiritual, but still respecting Christianity and all of those fundamentals, how to become the best version of themselves, utilizing these different self-development practices, actually feeling the breath, actually going through yoga, giving it a fair shot, and understanding, okay, is there objective ways that I can become a better version of myself, increase my energy, vitality, all those types of things using fundamental principles, and then understanding yourself as well too, the human design formula / astrology, understanding who you are as a person. Would you say there's anything else?
I would say, yeah, the 5 pillars. And if you're healing, building, or optimizing, that's like just really, really useful.
There's one more thing that I want to do before we wrap up. It's not a conversation, but I just want you to interpret, using the symbol of the tarot card, what you wanted somebody to get out of the conversation you just had.
What I want somebody to get out of the conversation we just had.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Stop. Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's the one. Whoa. The hanged man, but upright.
It was upside down. I don't know if people do that.
In tarot, they do.
Okay.
This is excellent. Jesus is not bullshit. Nor are the teachings in the Bible. You're looking at the church this way. You're looking at Jesus this way, but it's this way. That was awesome.
Damn, I love that. Has the sun coming out of his head, like the enlightenment, like
exactly.
the rays of knowledge.
Let's go. Boy, that was awesome.
And then pick one for me too. This one?
Yep.
Hey. Naked woman. This star. That's a pretty one. I like that one. And she's dumping water. I could think about that like us having like a loving, open conversation, pouring our knowledge back into the universe, things that could nurture some more perspectives. This one's all the things that'll subliminally happen from this, also going into the brains of people, actively seeing and appreciating from this. 7 stars and 1 massive one. 7 is the symbol, the number of spirituality and the unknown. How to utilize those unknown truths to become the best version of yourself. And the 1 star being the person, being one's highest self.